Imagine building something with your own hands to protect your land, only for the HOA to fine you $50,000 and force you to tear it down. But here's the twist. Once it was gone, the entire neighborhood flooded. This is the unbelievable story of one man's fight against his HOA, and how karma came crashing down like a tidal wave. In a quiet southern neighborhood, tucked away between tall pines and winding creeks, lived Marcus Green. Marcus wasn't just a homeowner. He was a man who believed in legacy. After inheriting his late father's property, he poured his savings, sweat, and heart into improving it. Among his proudest achievements was a small dam he constructed at the edge of his land. This dam wasn't fancy. It wasn't some multi-million-dollar structure. But for Marcus, it was everything. It kept spring floods from washing away his yard, protected the garden he and his kids tended every summer, and created a calm little pond where his family gathered for fishing, barbecues, and quiet reflection. It wasn't just concrete and stone. It was a piece of his family history, a safeguard for the land his father had worked so hard to preserve. But what Marcus didn't know was that this dam would ignite a war, not with nature, but with his HOA. The letters started small. At first, the HOA mailed Marcus a notice of violation, claiming his dam was unauthorized construction. Marcus was baffled. The dam sat entirely on his property, on land passed down through his family. No HOA funds, no shared easements, no community involvement. Just his land, but the letters grew harsher. Threats of fines, warnings of legal action. Marcus tried to reason with them. He showed permits he had obtained years earlier from the county. He explained the dam had been inspected, cleared, and had never caused harm. He even invited the HOA board to come see for themselves how safe it was, but none of it mattered. The HOA president, a woman known in the neighborhood for her controlling nature, was determined. In her eyes, Marcus's dam was unsightly. She claimed it disrupted the neighborhood aesthetic. Some even whispered that it wasn't about the dam at all, but about Marcus himself. He was one of the few black homeowners in the subdivision, and many suspected that prejudice was fueling this campaign against him. Then came the bombshell, a $50,000 fine. Not just a penalty, but a demand. Tear down the dam, or face escalating fines and legal ruin. Marcus refused. He stood in front of his dam, looking at the water reflecting the sky, thinking about the generations before him. This wasn't just about money. It was about dignity, ownership, and the right to protect what was his, so he fought. He appealed the fines. He hired a lawyer, draining his savings to mount a defense. He gathered neighbors who supported him, showing them how the dam actually helped divert water away from their yards. But the HOA wouldn't back down. At board meetings, Marcus was shouted down, mocked, told he was out of line. And one night, after another grueling meeting, the HOA delivered their final ultimatum: destroy the dam, or they would take him to court and seize his property. It broke him, not because he was wrong, but because he was tired. Tired of fighting, tired of bleeding money, tired of being treated like an outsider in his own community. So with heavy hands, Marcus hired a crew. The dam came down. Years of labor, love, and protection reduced to rubble, but fate wasn't done with this story. Weeks later, the skies opened up. A historic storm swept through the region, pounding the neighborhood with rain. Creeks swelled, ditches overflowed, and without Marcus's dam to hold back the surge, the water surged freely. What happened next was chaos. Backyards turned into rivers, streets filled with water, swallowing mailboxes. Basements flooded, cars ruined, homes damaged, and the hardest hit, the houses belonging to the very same HOA board members who had voted to destroy Marcus's dam. The structure he built, the one they called unsightly and unnecessary, had been the only thing protecting their neighborhood from disaster. When the storm cleared, the damage was undeniable. Insurance adjusters walked the streets shaking their heads, tens of thousands of dollars in damages. Some homes deemed unlivable, families displaced, and whispers began spreading among the neighbors. Didn't Marcus's dam used to stop this? Wasn't the HOA the one who forced him to tear it down? Maybe they went too far. The HOA president, once so confident and smug, now faced angry residents demanding answers. But she deflected, blamed the storm, blamed unforeseeable circumstances. Marcus, he stayed quiet. watching from his porch as the same people who had mocked him now stood ankle-deep in muddy water. He felt no joy in their suffering, but there was a bitter sense of justice in knowing that the truth had finally surfaced. Here's the irony. The HOA that fined Marcus $50,000 now faced repair bills in the hundreds of thousands. Lawsuits began flying, not against Marcus but against the HOA itself. Homeowners demanded compensation, pointing out that the board had knowingly destroyed a structure that had protected their neighborhood for years. And when court records revealed Marcus had permits and county clearance for the dam all along, the HOA's credibility crumbled. By the end of the year, the HOA's legal fund was drained. The president quietly resigned, her reputation in tatters. Some board members even moved away, unable to face the scorn of their neighbors. Marcus never rebuilt the dam. The fight had cost him too much, financially and emotionally. But in the end, he didn't have to lift a finger for karma to balance the scales. The flood had exposed the truth. His dam wasn't a nuisance. It was a lifeline. And the HOA's obsession with control had drowned them in their own arrogance. Standing by the creek one evening, Marcus thought of his father. He thought of the land, the legacy, the fight. He hadn't won in court. He hadn't won in meetings. But he had won in the only way that mattered, by holding on to his integrity. And as the water flowed freely past where the dam once stood, the whole neighborhood finally understood the cost of tearing down what they never should have touched. So what do you think? Was this poetic justice, or a tragedy that could have been avoided if the HOA had simply listened? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've ever faced an HOA nightmare, I'd love to hear your story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more unbelievable stories of HOAs, Karens, and the everyday battles homeowners fight for their rights.